Hello and welcome to Joie de Vivre. This is the second video in a series of 3 that I'm doing, just sort of around our experience of work, our experience of work-life balance, and what often feels like overwhelm or being overextended. Maybe you're even feeling like you're depleted, you're over it, you're burnt out, whatever the case may be. My idea for the videos is to explore how we might go from stress and overwhelm to a life of ease, more lightheartedness, and even a sense of play at work and everywhere. You know, it's been a rough couple of years, and a lot of us are still coming out from under what was a sort of an extended funk for many of us. And I think a lot of people are looking to find different ways of operating, both at work and in their personal lives. And that means connecting to joy, connecting to their innate health and resilience. So that's what I'm hoping to help you do. In the last video, I talked about this concept of not enough, and of course, the other side of the coin, which is enough, and how we get caught in not enough a lot of the time. This time, I want to talk more specifically around survival fears. And why do so many of us live in survival mode? And the short answer is that it is built into our economic system in a way. Capitalism is based on this idea of scarcity in nature and finite resources and competition for those finite resources. So the entire premise of capitalism is scarcity, and it instills fear in people. And another piece of that is individualism, which is also a big part of the American capitalistic culture. This idea of bootstrapping, that it's all on the individual to make their lives great. And if they don't succeed in whatever way is considered successful by themselves or by society or whatever benchmark they're using, then they're a failure. They have failed. It's their personal failure. Now, all these narratives are harmful. I mean, there are great things about individualism, right? There's an ability to be expressive and creative. And I mean, of course, everything has a light side and a dark side, right? So it's not just that capitalism is terrible. It's just that there are aspects of it that do undermine the individual. Capitalism provides space for innovation and creativity and ingenuity, and those are amazing things. And it also puts a lot of pressure on the individual. There are, again, 2 sides to everything. So if we can look a little more closely at how maybe the undermining effects, and then find a solution to those things, because it doesn't have to be that way. But for a lot of people, they do feel like it really is survival of the fittest, natural selection. That's kind of how the system is set up. And so, of course, there's no safety net in this scenario. That's pretty scary. If you start living in that place, it's scary that there's no safety net. It's all up to me. It's all on me to figure this thing out. Wow. So no wonder people are living in survival mode all the time and trying to hold on to their jobs and doing more than they need to do in order to feel okay and never really feeling secure. Now, there's a couple of things about this that just because the narrative says so doesn't mean that it's true, right? This first of all, the scarcity narrative that runs throughout our culture and runs through our economic system is not true. I don't know the last time you went to the grocery store, but the last time that I went there were so many fruits and vegetables and so many foods that there was too much food, right? I mean, I don't see scarcity when I go to the grocery store. I don't see scarcity in my life at all. And so what ends up happening, though, is that certain fear-based messages will come into the consciousness, sometimes through the media, politicians, or what have you. And, the latest news story, right? Inflation, We might be looking at an economic downturn, energy prices going up, skyrocketing. Whenever we hear messages like that, we start to panic, because the message is, hold on to what you have. The world is going to fall apart. You're not going to have enough. It's not going to be okay. So, the minute we get triggered, then we start getting back into the whole survival mode thing. It doesn't matter how much food is at the grocery store, right? We start to panic. And the thing is, it's even if inflation is increasing, and even if gas prices are going up, it doesn't mean the world is ending. And it doesn't mean we're not going to have enough. Because how many times in the past have prices gone up? And somehow we've made it. Now, I'm not saying that there is not an income equality problem happening. So I'm not saying that I'm like living in a bubble and I don't realize that there are actually people who are hoarding a lot of resources, because there are people who have a lot more, and there are people who are struggling more, who have less. And as we know, over the past few decades, that disparity has been growing and growing. So I'm not saying that things don't need to change, okay, systemically. But what I am saying is that what does not help is living in a place of stress and fear and panic. Living in survival mode doesn't help you. It doesn't help solve this problem of income inequality. It doesn't help you solve your problem if you have a financial difficulty that you're working through. Being in survival mode and panicking doesn't help, okay? Because what that does is that jacks up your nervous system and you end up in stress mode a lot of the time. And what that means, because when the stress response in our body is triggered, what does that mean? That means that our prefrontal cortex actually takes a back seat to, the reptilian brain, which is all about survival. And the prefrontal cortex is where we have good ideas. It's the seat of reason and, new insights and good ideas. And so when that's shut down, because we're in survival mode, we're not getting good ideas. We're not getting creative solutions, or not as many as we would get if we were not in survival mode. So how do we get out of survival mode? Well, part of it is realizing that a lot of this are these messages that trigger us, and some of them are maybe intentional, and some of them may just be, again, they're so widely embedded in the cultural narrative that nobody can really see that they're not actually true, because even the people at the top, well, they must be afraid. Otherwise, why would they need to hoard everything? The people who are hoarding everything, there is a misunderstanding around, resources and money and abundance and scarcity. And the fact of the matter is, again, when was the last time you went to the grocery store and there was no food? I mean, when was that? So the problem is not a lack of life-sustaining elements. The problem is, of course, who's controlling those things, but also the problem is the fact that we believe there's a problem. So that we are in this kind of fight flight state all the time, feeling like we need to do more and get more and hoard more, whatever it is, or we feel like we're drowning because we're overspending, or maybe we do have right now we're holding a lot of debt, and that feels scary and uncomfortable. And what I'm saying, that no matter what your circumstances are, that it's okay. There always are creative solutions, and we have more access to creative solutions if we can be present, stop panicking, let our systems settle down so that our prefrontal cortex can come back online, and we can start to see the solutions. So, the relaxing piece of it really is checking back into the moment, remembering all of the abundance that we have, that, okay, even if, let's say, my house might be repossessed next week. Okay, well, maybe that means that I've got to move halfway across the country and move in with my parents again. Not what I really want to do, but there is a safety net. And, for most of us, there is always something we can do. It may look like an uncomfortable option at face value, but then once we actually accept it, it's okay. And that's kind of what I'm saying, is that there's always a next step, that there's always a solution. There is a solution to every problem. And if we can be present and relaxed enough to let our resources, our innate resources, start to flow again, then we get out of survival mode and we start to be able to see the opportunities, whatever they are. So, this is just an invitation for you to start thinking a little bit about that. And are you finding yourself in survival mode? Do you get triggered by, news flashes about, rising prices and energy shortages and things like that? And can you, if you find yourself buying into those narratives and getting triggered, can you find your way back to the present moment where everything is okay? Hey, maybe you have to carpool. Maybe but what I'm saying is, like, there are creative solutions. There's always a solution. Maybe it looks uncomfortable. Maybe you have to ask for help when you didn't want to ask for help. Maybe you have to choose an option that wasn't your first choice. Like you have to move back in with your parents, whatever it is. But there is always a solution, and so that's the point. We don't need to be living in survival mode. We don't. We are way beyond that. That's like a prehistoric, or, most recently, I'd say, like in America, that is like maybe living on the prairie. If you're living as you're a pioneer making your way across the country, then yeah, that's where bootstrapping came from, right? You had to have that grit and determination. And I'm not saying those things are bad by any means. I'm just saying that we might be living in our heads, in a reality in our heads that isn't actually reality. So see if you can just come back to everything's okay. I have plenty. The fridge is full. The grocery store is stocked. There is gas in the car. May take a few more dollars to fill it up, but maybe I don't need to drive around as much. It's okay. Maybe I can find other things to do. So that's my little bit of exploration for this week. And I'm going to be, these are themes that I'm going to be exploring more in my 6-week program that's coming up in mid-October called the Work-Life Playbook. And it's going to be a 6-week online program with live Zoom calls every week, as well as some other materials, videos and exercises and things like that, to really help you, get out of survival mode, let loose of some of the narratives that might be keeping you either stuck or running on fumes, just depleted, depressed, anxious, whatever it is. And to help you, whether you're let's say your work life and your work-life balance are, it's not something you are looking to drastically change, maybe, but you just want to feel healthier and more at ease. And you don't want to feel so stressed out all the time. You don't want to feel so depleted and burnt out. Like there is a way to feel more energized and to feel more inspired. And if you are looking to change a job or have more energy for things that your passion projects, then this is another place for that. Because what we want to do is just clear out all the noise, all the things that are dragging us down and weighing us down, so we can really get to our clarity and our passion and connect to that, and so that we can bring that into the world. So Work-Life Playbook, it's coming up in mid-October. I have the information about it in the box below. Check out the link, see if it resonates with you. I would love to have you. There. So at any rate, I'm looking forward to seeing you for the third video. And till then, have a wonderful, wonderful day.